Hi, I'm Michael, one of the pastors at Midtown Lexington. We are 3 weeks into our giving initiative, which is supporting Agape Children's Ministry in Kenya. Many children in Kenya end up homeless for reasons no child should ever face. Some flee extreme poverty, others escape abusive family situations, and some leave home to avoid impossible burdens placed on them to help their families survive. Alone on the streets, these children face danger, hunger, and despair. But there is hope. Agape Children's Ministry rescues kids from the streets and gives them a safe place to heal, learn, and experience the love of Jesus. Counselors, social workers, and staff walk with each child, working toward the goal of family reconciliation. And at the center of it all, Agape is driven by prayer. One of the most powerful ways to join this ministry is by becoming a prayer partner. When you sign up as a prayer partner, you're connected with a specific child at Agape. You'll receive their name, often a photo, and some basic information about their story and prayer needs. You can pray for them daily as an individual or together as a family. And when that child is joyfully reintegrated with their biological family, you'll be assigned another child to pray for. It's an ongoing way to cover these kids with the love of Christ, even from across the globe. This is more than just prayer. It's standing in the gap for children who desperately need God's protection, provision, and healing. The hardest problems require the most involved solutions, and one of the greatest ways we can support Agape is through prayer. Sign up at midtowncolumbia.com/agape to become a prayer partner today or to give, and watch how God uses your prayers and your generosity to change lives for eternity.
Well, good morning, everybody. How we doing? You look wonderful, and it is so good to be with you today. If we haven't had the chance to meet before, my name is Taylor Schombert. I serve on staff as our director of student ministries. I've really been enjoying this Christmas season. How about you guys? You guys enjoying this Christmas season? One of my favorite things about Christmas is to settle in at night with a good old-fashioned Christmas movie or TV show. Anybody else there with me? Oh, Die Hard. Okay. You're a little bit ahead of me because I literally want to hear, what are some of the Christmas movies you guys are watching this year? Shout them out. Die Hard, Christmas Vacation, Jingle All the Way, Home Alone, classic. Dude, oh man, you guys have really, really good taste. Those are all really good movies, and I agree with you. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. But I'll tell you what, those are all great movies. But nothing really says Christmas to me like the good old-fashioned World War II miniseries Band of Brothers. I mean, I know what you're thinking, okay? This isn't a Christmas movie. But dude, if Die Hard can be a Christmas movie because it takes place on Christmas Eve, 2 episodes of this show are the Battle of Bastogne, which literally takes place on Christmas Day. I rest my case. So if you haven't seen Band of Brothers, let me paint the picture for you real quick. I literally think this is one of the most moving and beautiful told stories that has ever been put to screen. Across 10 episodes of this show, it tells the story of this ordinary group of men, the men of Easy Company, who are thrust into the horrors of World War II. And across these episodes and real life experience, they endure hard training, brutal battles, impossible decisions, deep losses. They run into gunfire and they quiver in foxholes. They face exhaustion, cold, hunger, death. And what carries them through it all is not their own strength, not their strategy, not just sheer luck. What carries them through all of this adversity is love. Love that forms this unbreakable bond as they stand shoulder to shoulder with one another, ready to support one another no matter the cost. And so this is a TV show I literally rewatch every year. And every time I rewatch it, I am moved to tears at moments, and I leave that show wanting to be a better man. Because deep down, what I desire in my own life is to have a band of brothers. And if we're honest, I think that's what you want too. A band of brothers, a band of sisters, a group of people who will stand beside you no matter what. People who will laugh with you, celebrate with you, sit quietly with you when the heavy news comes, call you to a higher standard, help you grow, stay when it would just be easier to leave. People who will love you for the long haul. And as we've been studying the book of John, we see that this is the type of community that Jesus is building amongst his disciples. These are men who have walked dusty roads together, ministered together, witnessed miracles together, who have had their eyes and their hearts open together as they stand shoulder to shoulder with Jesus. And so today we're going to be in John chapter 13. If you have a Bible, you can flip on over there. That's where we're going to camp out for a little bit. And in John chapter 13, I want to paint this moment for us. We find Jesus on the final night of his life that he gets to spend with these men. It's the annual Passover, and Jesus, he is sharing this meal with them mere hours before he is to be arrested. Earlier in the evening, as we saw last week, Jesus, the long-awaited king, did something that no one expected. He lowers himself and he starts off this evening by washing his disciples' feet. It's beautiful. But then the moment shifts. It's like a record scratch. And Jesus looks across the room and he tells his disciples, one of you is going to betray me. One of you, band of brothers, people I have ministered with for 3 years, is going to turn their back on me. Jesus reveals who it is. It's Judas. And where we pick up in the story today in verse 31, Judas gets up from reclining at the table, and he just leaves. He walks away. Now imagine that moment for a second. I want you to put yourself in the disciples' shoes. Imagine you're a disciple in the room. Judas has been one of your boys. He's been one of the people that you have done all of these things with for 3 years. He traveled the road with you, watched the same miracles that you did, heard the same teachings. He just walks away. Won't you feel angry, confused, hurt? Yeah, Judas is going to betray Jesus, but I think I would feel betrayed too. But in this moment where the emotion is thick, when hearts are racing, when everything feels fragile, Jesus doesn't freak out. He teaches. So let's work our way through this passage and see what Jesus says. And then at the end of our time today, we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about what it means for us. Let's pick up the story in verse 31. John chapter 13, 31 and 32. It says this. Jesus said, "Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will glorify him in himself and glorify him at once." Okay, I know the word that really sticks out here is glory. It's said 5 times, but I want you to notice another word. Notice the first word that Jesus says. Now. Now, at this very moment, when the final betrayal has begun, when it's been set in motion, when the wheels are turning towards Jesus's arrest and his torture and his death, Jesus says, now is the Son of Man glorified. Everything that Jesus has been hinting at for the last 3 years is about to come to a head. In the words of Dr. Strange, we're in the end game now. And these are things that the world would look at and say, the cross, that's defeat. Torture, that's humiliation. That's failure. But Jesus says, no, this is glory. This is glory because the cross, it's not an interruption to Jesus's glory. It's the climax of Jesus's glory. On the cross, the full magnificence and honor and worth of God is on full display. For at the cross, we see Jesus, the Son of God, willingly lay down his life for us. And we see God, the Father, willingly give his Son, John 3:16, right? Willingly give his Son for us. Jesus says, from this, the cross, me and the Father, we're going to receive glory. So let's keep moving. Verse 33. Jesus keeps going. He says, little children, Yet a little while I am with you. You will seek me. And just as I said to the Jews, so now I'll also say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. Little children, I love that. This is the only time in the Gospels where Jesus uses this word, this Greek word, to describe his disciples, to address them. And what this word conveys is this tenderness, this affection, this closeness that he has with these men. It's like when your child's afraid and you just kind of get down at their level, go, hey, sweetie, honey, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to keep going. That's kind of like what Jesus is doing here to his disciples. He's getting down and he's comforting them before he commands them. And after comforting them, Jesus kind of explains what's going to happen next. He tells them very plainly, I'm leaving and you can't come with me. This is something he said previously in John chapter 7, 34, and both here and there, what Jesus is getting at is I'm going to be gone for a while. Literally, I am going to be arrested. I'm going to be tortured. I'm going to die. You can't be with me for this. And I'm sure the disciples are a little confused. They didn't get it in John 7, and I'm sure they're kind of grappling with it now, and they're just wondering, and there's this question hanging in the air. Well, Jesus, if you're going to be gone, what do we do while you're gone? What do we do when you're not here with us? And then Jesus goes next. He uses this, or Jesus goes there next. He uses this moment to give them a command. Go back to the text, John 13, 34. Jesus says, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Here, Jesus is giving his disciples two things. Everybody say two things. And what I want to see is what those are. The first of which is a new identifier for discipleship. Jesus here, he gives his disciples a new identifier for themselves. You see, for the past 3 years, Jesus' disciples, he has been their rabbi teacher. And anyone who has been in Judea or Galilee knows that they are his disciples because they are literally following him around. They are walking behind him. They have put their life on the line just by being seen with him. But now Jesus says, you can't follow me around anymore. I'm leaving. My physical presence can no longer be the mark that you are a disciple of mine. So he gives them a new mark, a new commandment. Love each other. Love is the identifier of a disciple of Jesus. He says in verse 35, by this all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Now notice here what he doesn't say. Jesus doesn't say, people are going to know you're mine if you believe all the correct true things about me. He doesn't say, people are going to know you're mine if you go to church each week. People are going to know you're mine if you pray every day, if you complete a Bible in a year plan every year, if you tithe each week. Those are all really good things. Those are things that he wants us to do, but that's not what he singles out here. The identifier that you follow Jesus is that you love. People should be able to look at how we treat others and notice, hey, this person must be a follower of Jesus. Look at them. Look at how they are loving one another. Second thing that Jesus identifies for us here is not only gives to us here is not only a new identifier, but he also gives us a new standard for love. A new standard. Now, the commandment to love each other is not a new commandment. If you've read the Bible before, you see it all over the pages of the Old Testament. God commands his people to love. Leviticus 19:18 states it most plainly. It says, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Okay, Jesus, I know you know your Old Testament. What gives here? How is this a new commandment? It's a new commandment because the standard has changed. The standard to measure their love is different now. Notice what Jesus says. He says, as I have loved you. It's like he's looking across the room and he says, Matthew, love Peter over here as I have loved you. Thomas, love John as I have loved you. So what type of love does Jesus have for his disciples? Let's reflect on it here for a second. Think about what we are celebrating this Christmas season. Jesus, God eternal, has left heaven and has come down to earth, who has put on flesh, who has entered into all of our sinfulness, all of our messiness. And here in the story, Jesus knows he is willingly about to lay down his life so that these men could live, so that you and I could live. And so this is the love that Jesus is calling his disciples to. And it's the type of love that he is calling you and I to as well. The love displayed in the life and the death and the resurrection of Jesus not only saves us, but it shapes us. I'm sure you've heard maybe pastors say this before, but the English language is not very helpful in understanding what the word love means. Here's an example. Here's 3 things that I love. I love my wife, I love my parents, and I really love hot dogs. Those are 3 things I love, but each one of those loves is different. I don't love my wife in the same way that I love hot dogs. I love one of those things more, and I'll let you decide which one it is. This is where the Bible comes in to help us. The New Testament wasn't written in English. It was written in Greek. And when it comes to the word love, there are 4 different words in Greek that can describe love. And the word that Jesus uses here is one that I'm sure many of us have heard before. It's the word agape. Now, agape, this is not some type of sentimental affection or convenience-based kindness. Agape love is this ultimate form of love, this no matter what, I will do whatever it takes to help you kind of love. Agape love looks at someone and says, I love you so much that I am willing to give up other things so that I can be with you. I am committed to you. Agape love says, I love you so much that even when you fail, even when you let yourself down, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. Agape love says, I love you so much, and I know where you need help in your life, where you need to grow, and I'm going to be here to help you get there. This is the type of love that Jesus is saying we should have for one another. And when we really kind of grasp this, I'm sure many of us in the room have this same reaction, because I know I sure did. Jesus, you sure about that? That's a lot of love. Are you sure? Can't there be a different standard? This is a lot of love. Like, have you met the people in my life group? They can be hard to love sometimes. Like, this is difficult. And if we're honest, we can also look in the mirror and realize, I'm not for everyone. How can someone love me like this? But this is what Jesus has called us to do, to love one another with the same love in which he has loved us. And when I have this reaction, I'm reminded of this quote from Russian novelist Dostoevsky. Yes, I know, very pretentious of me. This guy, classic literatures. But here's what Dostoevsky says. He says, love in action is a harsh and a dreadful thing compared with love in dreams. To put it more in English, it's a lot easier to think of ourselves as a loving person. It's a lot harder to actually love people. I think of myself as a loving person, but that person over there, they're super annoying. This person over here, they sinned against me years ago. I don't know if I can love them. In my head, I'm such a loving person, but time, energy, resources, I got to keep those to myself. I'm not going to give those for the benefit of somebody else. I got to look out for me. And if that's a lot of our natural reaction, where do we learn this type of agape love? I think the Bible ultimately kind of shows us 3 things. One, ultimately, God gives us his Spirit to help teach us this love. He also gives us his word to instruct us how to love. And he has given us his church, a community where we get to learn how to love together. I don't know if you've ever really thought about church that way. Is that church is a community of learning how to love. Each time that we gather here on a Sunday or show up at Life Group, what we are doing is we are taking advantage of discipleship opportunities to learn what it looks like to love one another, to look like Jesus. Gathering together with other Christians as often as you can is almost like going to class. It's like taking a test. And I know some of you are like, dude, I thought I was done with school. I don't want to keep going to school. Well, you're part of the church. Welcome to class. So whether you know it or not, each time that you get together with other believers, it is an opportunity to learn how to love them. Because we need this practice of being family with one another, because sometimes it just doesn't come naturally to us. So think about it for a second. Maybe someone you know is struggling. That's a teaching moment for you to put love into action, to build them up, to point them to the gospel promises, to show them godly wisdom, to encourage them, to pray for them. Maybe someone you know has a financial need. They're really struggling with their finances. For you, that is an educational opportunity. We get to learn together how to appropriately help each other, look out for each other, lift each other up. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes, especially when I sit in life group and people share things, I'm just left there sitting like, I want to love this person so bad, but I just don't know how. I need someone to help me learn how to love this person. And this is what God is calling us to. And in 1 John 1:7, it says this. It says, but if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another. Fellowship, literally community, sharing with one another, gathering together in a way to intimately know one another. And so because of this command, this is one of the main reasons we have structured our church to have life groups. Life groups are the primary place where you and I get to rub shoulders with other believers and practice what it looks like to love one another. And so maybe you're new here around Midtown. Maybe you haven't been around here for long and you haven't jumped into a life group. I want to encourage you. Let 2026 be the year. I know it sounds like a made up year. Let 2026 be the year that you jump into a life group, or else you're missing out on all of these opportunities where you can learn how to love. And for those of you in a life group, keep showing up. Even when it's inconvenient, even when you're tired, even when you don't want to, because each week is an opportunity for you to learn how to love. Now, in the New Testament, there are 59 what we call one another commands. And don't worry, I'm not going to spend the next 5 hours talking about each one of them. But the Bible, these one another commands expound for us what does it look like to love one another. In 1 Corinthians 11:1, the Apostle Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. And so for me and my own discipleship and walk with Jesus, so much of what I've learned of what it looks like to love others as Christ has loved me is by you guys. Being in life group with you, going to dinner with you, sitting with you and watching a ball game. Those are moments where I have learned how to love and see how you interact with me and with others. And so what I want to do for the rest of our time this morning is I just want to paint 5 pictures for us. 5 pictures of how I have learned how to love from you and what you are showing me. I think back to our sermon last week. In John 13:14, it says this. It says, if I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. Here we see that Jesus is inviting us to do these menial, gross tasks that no one else wants to do, to lower ourselves to serve others. Here we see a picture of love. Now, last week, Andrew gave us a shout out to our Midtown volunteers who serve kids each and every week, people who can't serve themselves. And I want to give them another shout out, but I want to think about it through the lens of love. Specifically, how you, Midtown volunteers here in the room, and those who aren't in the room with us now, how you love me. How you, other parents who have dropped your kids off at Midtown, are loved by these volunteers. Because I don't know if you've thought about it that way. They value so much that you get to sit here in this room, distraction-free, to sing with your spouse, to sit under the teaching of God's word, to pray. They value that. And so they're in the back loving you by cleaning up your child's spit up, by changing a diaper, by vacuuming all those crumbs that your little elementary schooler leaves behind, doing the gross, menial task because they love you. So Kidtown volunteers, thank you. Thank you for loving all of us here in the room so we can do what we do on a Sunday morning. I'm also reminded of another picture of love. In Romans 16:16, it says this. It says, greet one another with a holy kiss, meaning to welcome one another joyfully. And when I think about this passage, I think about my life group leader, Jared Munch. Now, he hasn't kissed me, but he fulfills this really, really well. Because Jared is someone who really, really goes out of his way to make sure that other people are welcomed and invited. Maybe if you know Jared, you'll notice next week, keep an eye on him during Pass the Peace. This dude straight makes a beeline across the room if he hasn't seen someone in a long time. He goes out of his way if he sees someone new to say, hey, how's it going? I'm Jared. Welcome to Midtown. I'm so glad that you are here. And what I have learned from him is that during Pass the Peace, it is an opportunity for me to love you guys. I'm an introvert. Innately, I just want to sit down in my chair. I want to go out and get a cup of coffee. I want to go to the restroom during Pass the Peace. Anybody else there with me? Yeah, some of us, we get it. But what you are doing when you do that, if you're specifically just trying to avoid other people, is you're passing up an opportunity to love each other. Because by talking, by being willing to put yourself in that uncomfortable space of small talk and awkwardness of I don't really know what to say, when you put yourself in that environment and you say, I'm going to do it anyways, you are loving that person. You are choosing to be seen, to be known, to be loved yourself. So next week in Pass the Peace, y'all better be really chatty. I'm going to keep an eye on you. So that's another picture of what it looks like to love one another. I'm also reminded of Ephesians chapter 4:25, where it says this, therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. I don't know about you, but in life group, sometimes people bring up really hard things. And I, in a natural tendency, have one of two reactions. I just want to move on, and I don't want to sit in it because it'd just be easier to do that. Second, I just want to give that person so much good advice. I want to tell them where they went wrong, how they can do better, where they can go next. But we have this saying around Midtown, is that before we give good advice, we want to give good news. We want to speak the truth of the gospel over that person. No one I've been in life group with has done this quite as good as Andrew Flowers. And yeah, I get it. He's a pastor. He should be good at this. This is part of the point. I've learned this from observing him do it. I can remember years ago, so I've been at Midtown now for a little bit over 4 years. And I can remember joining this life group and being new to Midtown and wanting to confess sin in my life, but I haven't done it before. And the last Christian community I was a part of, if I would have confessed sin, I would have fully expected to just be berated and told how wrong I was and how I need to just do everything better and rely on Christ more and all these things. But I can remember not receiving some berating, but the gentle words of Andrew. Hey, Taylor, good news is that Christ has paid the penalty for your sin. And the same God who paid the penalty for your sin, he's going to give you the power to overcome it too. He's going to help you say no to sin. That's loving one another. That's speaking truth. That is showing others the true things about the gospel, about who God is, about who they are. And so each week when you show up in group and you're tempted to just give good advice or to just sit there awkwardly and move on to the next thing, speak truth. Love one another. Remind them of the God that they serve. Another picture in 1 Peter 4:9, it says this. It says, show hospitality to one another without grumbling. Hospitality. This is something that my wife and I, Kylie, we really want to grow in during 2026. Is our willingness to open up our home and have people over from church to share a meal with us. Maybe you're like us and you're just so quick to find any excuse you can to not do this. We just need a night to ourselves. We live so far away from these people. We have a very tiny 2-bedroom apartment. We'll just leave it to them to invite us over. We're not going to do it. But before Kylie and I got married, she attended Midtown downtown. And there was a couple in her life group there named Russell and Renee. And they are 2 individuals who I have seen demonstrate this beautifully. Now, Russell and Renee, they're in their 60s, so literally double Kylie and I's age. But for the past 3 years, they haven't let their age, they haven't let the fact that they live in Irmo be a deterrent to repeatedly inviting us over for meals, to open up their home for us. And it's been such a sweet thing. We love it when we get a text from them or a call from them, or we bump into them and they say, you should come share dinner with us. Kylie especially loves it because Renee says that we get to play with our food, which means we get to kind of like take part and like make the food together. So I can remember recently we made chicken dumplings. And so she had like the filling and then like all the whatever thing that you put dumplings in. And so we like made dumplings together and it was beautiful and it was wonderful. And we just talked. And she had these cards on the table. They're called table conversations. And she just kind of opened up this box and pulled one out. And she said, hey, let's go a little bit deeper. Let me learn more about you. And then at the end of the night, she literally was like, here, I bought an extra set for you. Here's a go deeper set so you can have other people over to your home and have some table conversations too. So you can get to know them and their story and what they love and where they have been. Literally showing us, imitate me as I imitate Christ. Show hospitality, love one another. The final picture that I have for us this morning is in Hebrews 10:24. It says, let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. Now, this week is one of those moments where God lines things up so much better than we could. Because the word that we have been talking about in this passage, agape, that we see here in John 13, it's the name of this ministry that we have been spotlighting and supporting throughout the holiday season. Throughout this season, we've been spotlighting Agape Children's Ministry in Kenya. Now, what they do is they serve thousands of kids, feeding them, clothing them, teaching them, telling them the good news of Jesus. And so as a church, we want to support this ministry and we bring up opportunities because we want to stir you up, to give you an opportunity that maybe you wouldn't be aware of, that maybe you wouldn't see, and to do 3 things. We're asking you to pray, to give, and to consider going. And through all of those 3 things, what you are doing is you are loving Christians halfway across the world. Literally across the world in Kenya. By doing those 3 things, you're not just putting a checkbox, you're not just writing a check, you're not just spending a couple minutes in your prayer journal. You are loving Christians. You are supporting the work that they are doing. So as you pray, as you give, as you consider going, I want to share with you a story, and I want to put a face to what the Lord is doing there. This is Kennedy. He's a 16-year-old, and whenever he was younger, he was living on the streets. He had an unstable home. He was rejected and eventually found himself just doing little odd jobs, just trying to get by. Agape Ministries, they found him. They cared for him. They brought him in to one of their centers and counseled him and shared the love of Christ with him. And Kennedy at 16 placed his faith in Jesus Christ. He wanted to be reunited with his family, but didn't know where they were. And so Agape literally went out, going town to town, trying to find where Kennedy's family was. And so eventually they found some of his paternal family, his grandmothers, and he's now reunited, living with them. That is agape love. That is love in action. And when you consider partnering with this ministry, you are loving kids like this, who you may never receive a thank you from, who you may never see in person, may never meet on this side of life. but you are choosing to love them. And so these are just 5 small pictures out of a billion pictures that Jesus is using each and every day to teach us how to love, for us to learn what it looks like to love one another as Christ has loved us. And so if you're a Christian in the room, Jesus is inviting you deeper into his love, to experience more fully and to become a person shaped by it. He is inviting you to learn how to love through a number of different opportunities. Can you see them? Will you take advantage of them? Will you learn how to love? Who is Jesus calling you to show this type of agape love to? Let's pray.